back, WNST, Tassel, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively taking the show out on the road. I have been threatening to get this guy into Pappas. We're doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. I've got instant lottery scratch-offs. I got 50th anniversaries. I've got Raven scratch-offs. I'm running low. Ross, help me out. Get me some scratch and sniff scented gingerbread and peppermint Maryland Lottery tickets. Our friends at Win the Nation, 866-90-NATION. You buy two, you get two free, 0% financing for 5 years, and Jiffy Lube Multi-Care. At some point, they're going to give me some sort of prop here to bring out on the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. But Leonard Raskin had the great prop of the crab mallet with the beer opener, so we appreciate that from Leonard. We're at Pappas in Parkville. It's pretty active in here, John Eisenberg.
It's hopping.
You know, I came here a couple hours ago, and Jeannie, who's going to sit in on the show, who's a listener and a fan, and I mean, I live 4 miles from here. My radio station's 2 miles from here. It's sort of the neighborhood. Got here about 11:30, 12. She goes, you're packing them in. There's people here. And I'm like, people aren't here for me. Now, I will say this. Everybody at the bar knows me, but they didn't know I was here, and they're not here for me. They're here because I guess it's a good happy. Maybe they got a good crab cake here. I think. Oh,
absolutely. Listen, this is sort of my neck of the woods too, and I have been here multiple times. Really good place.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell Steve the story about when I came here for the first time as a boy. I was about 12 years old, grew up in Colgate, Dundalk, and my next-door neighbor got married to a nice gentleman. Now, this was her second marriage. She was an older woman. She was in her late 60s or 70s. Doesn't feel older when I say that to us now, but she was a little older than us at the time. It felt a lot older in 1981, I assure you. I had my first ever prime rib and Pappas crab cake upstairs here at a wedding reception for an older couple in 1981. And it was this banquet room. I had never had prime rib in my life. I don't think I had been to like a nice restaurant because my parents, we didn't grow up like that. And this was fancy schmancy. Like I was all dressed up wedding day. I had to act right. You know,
coat and tie on. You had a coat and tie on?
Yeah, man, as a boy, you know.
Yeah,
so you did all this in Texas. John Eisenberg has, I feel like he's a man who needs no introduction, from my part here, at least from where I am. Longtime Baltimore Sun writer, great author, mentor to me, and author of Rocket Men. And this is the black quarterbacks who revolutionized pro football. John comes on the program 3-4 times a year, back when he's writing for Ravens.com, even back in the Baltimore Sun, because I've been doing this for 32 years. And, you know, I don't know what the longest gestation, because dinosaurs are dead, to like make babies, but like I know like elephants, it's like maybe a year and a half or something. Every one of your books feels like this creation of this giant. You were talking to me about this like during the plague, maybe like because Lamar had become like a sensation, and you're like, and I always say to you, working on a book, I'm a horse racing book, and then working on a book, it's sort of a Ripken, and we talk about it for years. Then you come and do this, usually at the Super Bowl, but they've thrown me out after 28 years. And this book here has been, the day it came out, I think I had you on, and now you're doing like the Christmas tour and the football tour and the Lamar tour, and I'm glad we're together because, like, this is the real book. I've only seen it online, and how's it going?
Great, it's going great. I've been in. Let's see, I've been in Texas. I've been in Washington. I've done a book signing here. I got a thing in New York. I mean, it's the drill. You go and you do. I've done tons of media all over the place. I actually have 2 publicists doing it. One from the publisher, one an old high school classmate of mine who I think you know, Cindy. And so, I
love Cindy. Hi, Cindy. Yeah. He's here. He's doing the book. We're promoting the book, Cindy.
So, very good. So lots and lots and lots of interviews and stuff. It's fun. That's the easy part. The hard part's writing it. The easy part. Whenever I hear authors say, "Oh, I hate going on a book tour and it's a hassle and the travel's hard and everything." Come on. You know how many books get published that no one pays any attention to?
I did Getty Lee's book tour the other night. So Getty has a book, My Effin' Life, and I went down to MGM. He's sitting on stage and just telling the story. Like what you're doing. You're telling me the stories within the story, trying to add some things that aren't in the book that add some color. But when you follow Getty for 45 years and he's finally like doing this, it's awesome to write a book. It's at some point I'm going to memoir. I mean, I'm I'm getting there. I'm 55. Getty said he never wanted to look back. That's why he never wrote a memoir, So, I mean, your memoirs would be unbelievable. The press passes you've had, the things you've seen. If you amalgamated your columns from World Cups, Olympics, World Series, Super Bowls, parades. Yep. You weren't here when the Mayflower. You were here when the Mayflower.
No, I came in '84. I came here, just missed the Orioles winning the World Series and the Colts hitting the door.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
It was your fault.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
All right, so as you can see, I dressed for you today, okay?
Appreciate that.
So anybody that knows me, and you've known me, I've known you since 1985, 86. I started at the Sun in 86. I think I knew you as the hot shot Pulitzer kind of candidate writer guy, long form guy who was going to be a columnist kind of guy from Texas. And I read your work in Sports 2, which was the second section.
Right.
You were always the main takeout enterprise writer. I wanted to be him. Don't tell him. I wanted to be Stedman, but I wanted to be all of you. I wanted to be Rosenthal. I wanted to be the beat writer, and I wanted to be the columnist, and I wanted to be the venerable, salty TV repairman like Jackman. I have a little piece of all of you in me. I'm a little bit of a writer mutt.
That's a good thing.
Through all of you.
That's a good thing.
There's a little
John
John Hawkins in me. There's a little Bernie Miklasz in me. There's a lot of Jeff Gordon in me. And like the authorship, when you do this and you make one of these books and you go out on tour, whether you're Geddy Lee or you're John Eisenberg, you want to get people excited about it. And I thought, what could get me more excited than putting on my Warren, maybe my Dan Pastorini jersey. No disrespect, Dante. But, I love the Oilers forever, right?
Yeah.
And I was the original run-and-shoot gangster, you know what I mean? When Buddy Ryan's duking it out with Gilbride on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I'm there in the Oiler Apex One starter jacket, sitting in Sandy McKee's spot over top of, Calvert Street with you. The fact that Warren Moon sits with you and that this has become a thing, right? He was the only black. There was Doug Williams, and then there weren't any. Then there was him.
And Randall Cunningham, and
of course,
and Warren. That's about it. I mean,
McNair.
Well, that's the '90s. I mean, you're in the '80s when Warren comes in 1984. He's it. I mean, Doug Williams has been run out of the league. And he's in the USFL. He doesn't have a job. He's disgusted with the NFL. And there are no other starting black quarterbacks, or none. So when he signs with the Oilers, he's one of one.
Tell everybody, because Warren Moon is a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. He was, incidentally, after they threw me off of Radio Row after 28 years, this whole Chad Steele fiasco, he was the last guest I had on Radio Row.
Oh, wow.
Of all the years. The last guest I had was Warren Moon. Packed my equipment up. I waited for him on Friday and I played football. I caught a pass from Kurt Warner on the field that is the Warren Moon field, because that's where they did the Snoop Dogg charity game in L.A.
California.
Yeah. I knew, step this way, because you're getting out of my camera here. Tell everybody the Warren Moon story as you would tell it. And I should have you do a reading like Geddy Lee did, clear your throat. But the Warren Moon story, for people that just see the jersey, that guy over here, like, dude at the bar says, "Hey, man, great jersey, Warren Moon." I'm thinking, what do you know about Warren Moon? I loved Warren. I loved Warren Moon, but I didn't know what he went through. Washington, CFL. You just hear, he's a great quarterback in the CFL. Well, why was that? Why was he stuck in the CFL?
Because he didn't get drafted. He's in the Hall of Fame, and he's a senior at University of Washington. He wins the Rose Bowl, the Pac-8.
78?
78, I think. It's 77.
77. All right.
The 78 draft, 78. So January 1, 78 Rose Bowl. 77 is his senior season. And he has a good year, and he comes out, and Lee Steinberg is his agent. And so what happens in the 70s with any good black quarterback is the NFL would say, well, we like you, we like some talent, and you'll be a really good running back, or you'll be a really good, because they just refused to play him at quarterback. They didn't, to get right down to the heart of it, what was going on.
They're racist.
Racist. It's like, well, I mean, whether it be conscious or unconscious, it's like, well, they're not smart enough, they won't work hard enough. Will white teammates respond to them? All this stuff. And
will our fans respond to them in the South?
Will the owner and will the ownership? Will the ownership go for it? No. So it was just really stacked against him. So Warren tells Lee Steinberg, when these teams call, what do you want me to tell him? He says, I'm not changing positions. I'm a quarterback, period.
That's Lamar. Lamar has that in common, right?
Right, and Lamar, all these years later, goes barely in the first round, but in the first round. But so he goes undrafted. So he goes to Canada, the Edmonton Eskimos, who are good in Canadian football.
It is not warm in Edmonton. Edmonton is not Los Angeles.
No, and so he's almost immediately just completely dominant. He plays in there for 6 years. He wins 5 Grey Cups.
Wider field, rouges, all the things I need to tell our Stallions fans about here, right?
Right.
But
Wider, 110-yard field.
In 1980, 81, 82, 83, game's built for him, right? Literally.
Oh, yeah. He's younger. He's more mobile. He's running around. He's got a big arm. I mean, all the scouts, they'd said, he may not have a strong enough arm. So he's completely dominant in the Canadian.
He's got a great arm, Warren Moon.
Yeah, he threw for 50,000 yards.
That's all.
He threw for 70,000 yards as a professional. So anyway, he's just great there. And so finally, his contract runs out. And after 6 years, and he's sitting on his couch watching the NFL every November, December after he's won the Grey Cup thinking, can I do this? Can I play in that league, the best of the best? Because I don't know. I think I can. But he liked Canada. He would have stayed. I mean, there was they had a great thing going. The Gretzky and, Edmonton, it was kind of sports town USA going on in Edmonton.
God, I hadn't thought about that.
And so he said, we were royalty. He had a good time up there.
You been to Edmonton?
Yes, I have been
to Edmonton.
I have been to Edmonton. I'm trying to remember why.
I've been all over the world, and I've always threatened a hockey game in Banff and Calgary, and there have been concerts that, Barry Trotz has always threatened to put me on a team bus and literally and do that trip. But Edmonton, it feels like the end of the world. I mean, it feels like. I
don't think I've been to Moose Jaw, but I have been to Edmonton.
Did you cover the Grey Cup in Regina, Saskatchewan?
I covered the one in Vancouver.
I covered that one too. I was
in Vancouver,
BC. Yes.
And I was on vacation. So however many years later, like 4 years ago, before COVID, I'm on vacation with my wife we're in Montreal, and we are at a roadside cafe. And this guy that was waiting on me figures out. We get to talk, and he figures out. We start talking football, and I tell him the story, and he starts, talking about that Grey Cup and that game, and he's just shocked. There's this American that knows the whole thing, the field goal that beats him. It
was a bad flag. I mean, they kind of got screwed. The Stallions kind of got screwed.
Yeah, but it's Leo Pasaglia, I believe.
There you go.
Was the kicker, and so this waiter is just looking at me like, what planet is this dude from that knows all this stuff about the Grey Cup from the 90s?
I walked through Little Vancouver then, and it's grown up because I've been back 3 times since then. This is 1995.
Yep.
I was with Harvey Myers from the Emerald Tavern right here in Parkville, and we walked hotel to hotel and collected all the teams had team fan clubs set up in hotels. Yeah. It was literally a celebration.
It was a party
of the CFL. Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome party.
It was a great party. Great party. The Grey Cup.
This guy you talked to, if you would have told him that Tom Cochran and Red Ryder played the halftime show and Life Was a Highway. John Eisenberg is here. The book is Rocket Men, Black Quarterbacks Who Revolutionized Pro Football. See, the Warren Moon story picks up, though, when he signs in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
That's when he became a Hall of Fame quarterback, right?
Well,
wearing this jersey primarily.
That jersey, and the Oilers are not very good for a couple of years, and then they are good for the rest of his time there. He's there, I think, 10 years, and it took a while, but that stuff's important. I mean, a very short leash if you're a black quarterback in the NFL, especially in the South in the 80s, it's like, and you don't win right away, good luck. However, they'd given him a nice contract. Bud Adams, the Oilers were patient with him. They let the team grow around him a little bit, and then they were really good. And so from 1984 to 2000, or is it 2001? He's in the NFL. Makes, I think, 9 Pro Bowls. He throws for 50,000 yards. He's just an elite quarterback for years, and he is also the first black quarterback to start a game for 4 franchises, 4 different franchises. That's how seldom it was happening.
Well, you shocked the hell out of me. You did the show with me. When did the book come out? Summer? June? July?
September.
September. Okay. Well, I think I had you on in June or July. Sometime before. We were in the Lamar mode summertime. And you told me the Giants hadn't had a black quarterback start for them in the history of the franchise.
2017.
I had to think about that, and I'm like, That's unbelievable when you put it in those kinds of modern terms.
Well, it happened right in front of my. I mean, this is starting. I'm in press boxes starting in 1979, and this pretty much unfolded in front of my eyes. And I will, shame on me for not just sort of really grasping what was going on here.
You covered the Doug Williams Super Bowl, probably.
I did.
Yeah, you were in San Diego that night.
Yeah.
You threw all those touchdowns, right?
Yeah, I was there. And that was
you got to write memoirs, Eisenberg. You got to write memoirs.
Yeah, I was.
Who can write better about you than you?
Well, I wrote one about my early days in Dallas.
I know, Cotton Bowl days.
Right.
I know all his books.
Yeah,
he's a mentor to me.
But
he doesn't acknowledge that.
But the sports stuff is great. I had a friend of mine tell me. He said, you've lived like a master class in sports. You should write about it. So I don't know.
I've lived the life I always wanted to live when I was a kid and you knew me. That I could sit here in Pappas, in Parkville, giving away lottery tickets, promoting local business, all these, owning a station 25 years later. Like, I've been to 28 Super Bowl. I mean, like, I have all of these. I've written books, too. Not as good as his books, but I try hard. It's been a wonderful life in that way as a sports writer, and you and I have been at so many magic moments together, and
totally
locker rooms together, and Ray Lewis announces he's retiring, and the day that we were there in orange jumpsuits, and like we've just been through all of this.
All of it, and I consider myself very lucky because it was the golden era of newspapers. I mean, I just sailed right through there. I mean, people probably don't get it today, but when I left the Sun in 2007, I had to count it up because I had to give a little talk, speech in the newsroom. 42 states and 11 countries. The Baltimore Sun sent me to write sports. To write sports.
To cover World Series games.
Right.
To write about Maradona.
Right. So, that's pretty good.
So if I were to be a real – I'm not going to be this guy to you right now, but if I were to say to you, give me the top 5 things you remember, like, that you attended. Like, I got concerts that would be like – I have 50 of those. It would be like, you won't believe that I was at Live Aid. I was at these things, right? But the sports side of, like, if you and I were to go toe-to-toe on saying, what was the coolest thing we ever saw at a sporting event from a press box or in a seat upstairs, I really don't know where I'd begin. I mean, because we would talk about the things we've written about books, right? I got a Baltimore crowd. I played with the crowd. Oh, it was his first Super Bowl at 35. Or no, it was his second Super Bowl. Or it was the 83 World Series. Or it was the day we got the team back. Or, like, we have all – but you chronicled this every day we woke up and wanted to know what you thought about it, and you got to get your 2 cents in. Like, every topic –
Whatever it was,
whatever
absolutely.
It
was. The sound
You're documented, Eisenberg.
Sound of my voice was loud.
So what? Not the best column you wrote or the Joe Don Looney story, but like when grandkids say that to you, what do you say?
Well, I will say that in 1990, the Baltimore Sun sent me to the World Cup in Italy.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
they paid for it too.
The U.S. had just for the first time in 19.
Were you in a Tuscan villa?
Yeah. I was. The Baltimore Sun paid for it.
Oh, okay.
So,
I see are fresh meats and cheeses and
40 first time in 40 years the U.S. had qualified. I talked them into sending me. They played. The U.S. was in the World Cup.
Did you have to talk Marty Kaiser into sending you?
I did, but he was like, "Oh, good." So I went. The U.S.
Well, there was something very elitist about saying, we're staffing that
World Cup. Right. And keep in mind, prior to that, I had done that's 1990. So I'd done Wimbledon, I think 3 times prior to that for the Sun. In the last few years before that, also the British Open golf. I mean, they were sort of sending me around, and this was sort of a new thing, and so. That was, and the U.S. was immediately knocked out.
Oh, they were awful.
Immediately knocked out. So I called and said,
Harks?
"Well, the U.S."
Was it Harks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're immediately knocked out, and Marty's like, "Well, why don't you just stay and write all this stuff?" And I was like, "Great, okay." So I was there for 35 days.
More wine, more pasta.
Yes, 35 days on an expense account. And so, how do you top that? I mean,
I'm just glad to know him.
For soccer. I mean, there's many jokes in my family. My wife, who was with me for almost all of it, she cried on the way home. She says, "We are never topping this."
And she was right.
She was right. She was right. So it was, when people say, "All right, what's the number one?" It has to be that. So that was.
All right. Well, I'm glad.
Lived a Hemingway novel.
Dude, I've known you 40 years, and I'm getting this out of you. John Eisenberg is here. I'm going to take a quick break because I've tried to keep the segment shorter, and then I get the BS and promoting Window Nation and the Maryland Lottery and 50th anniversary. We're at Pappas in Parkville. Love this place. A long history here of all the places I can do a show. There are very few places that I was in when I was 13 years old or 12 years old that are still here, 40 years later. Pappas is an institution, obviously. And when I got here, they're like, hey, what took you so long to get here? Bel Air, Glen Burnie. You're always up in Hunt Valley, Cockeysville. So I'm happy to be back in Parkville with my friend John Eisenberg. His book is Rocket Men. We covered the Warren Moon a little bit, but we're going to cover some more black quarterbacks. I'm wearing my Warren Moon jersey. Very, very proudly. Dude said, hey, man, that's a great-looking jersey. This is legit, Russell Athletic from the day. I got it on the interwebs for about $35.
Well, the Titans wore it this year. Are you that? I mean, and that was a huge deal.
Controversy. John McClain and I went back and forth with that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, it'd be like
this is a Dallas guy talking about
It'd be like the Colts wearing some sort of Baltimore throwback. And the people in Indy saying, "Oh, it's great," and the people of Baltimore were saying, "That is not yours."
Well, it's like the Carolina Hurricanes wearing a Hartford Whalers.
Hartford Whalers. I mean, you're getting into a shaky ground there. Let's put it that way.
There's no question about that. So this is Cotton Bowl Days guy here from Dallas. John Eisenberg's here. We're going to have some crab cakes. We're going to celebrate We're going to celebrate Thanksgiving. We're doing the crab cake tour at Coco's in Lauraville next week. We're also going to be with our former colleague, who I think we both love, Dan Rodricks, next Thursday at Gertrude's at the BMA with his show. I'm going to tell you how great his show is because it's great. And then next Friday, You did go? Oh, we're going to promote that. Hollywood Casino, we're going to be next Friday up in Perryville. And my dude Christian Horton's going to be here. We're going to make picks. My picks, I can't pick my nose the last couple. 5-9. I have fallen, and this, you'll appreciate this being a Baltimorean by not birth but by choice. I am 83-79, so they're easy to remember that. 83-79-4 on the season. I've just fallen down the mountain.
Sounds like an Orioles season record.
I've just fallen down the mountain. John Eisenberg's here. We're going to do another segment. I did order delicious chicken Milanese that I can smell here in Parkville, so I'm going to dive into that. We're going to refresh our drinks and come on back. We're going to talk some more about Rocket Man. We're going to talk some Lamar. We're going to. I have to talk about the stadium with you and the lease with you,
sure,
and all the journalism I've stumbled upon. Tom Kelso, former Maryland Stadium Authority chairman, is going to be joining me next Friday. We're going to do 2 hours of Stadium for Dummies up at the Hollywood Casino in Perryville. Stay with us. Brought to you by the Maryland Lottery, Window Nation, and our friends at Jiffy Lube Multicare. We're at Pappas in Parkville with John Eisenberg. Hang on.